There are moments in sports that don't just make headlines, they rewrite the entire conversation. And right now, in the middle of a WNBA season that nobody could have predicted would look like this, Caitlin Clark is standing at the center of one of those moments. She just received her first Kobe signature shoe from Nike. Not a collaboration, not a limited collab drop, a genuine player-exclusive Kobe, designed around her, built for her game, and tied to a legacy that most athletes only dream of touching. And if you think that's the biggest part of this story, you haven't heard anything yet. Because behind that shoe is a deal worth $28 million. Behind that deal is a league that just signed a $3 billion media rights agreement. And behind all of it is a 22-year-old from Ames, Iowa, who somehow managed to change the entire financial trajectory of women's basketball without breaking a sweat. The sneaker world is buzzing, the sports business world is paying attention, and the players around her? Well, that's a conversation we'll get to, and it's one that Charles Barkley already started, loudly, in a way that made everyone stop scrolling. This is the full story, the shoes, the money, the controversy, and the cultural wave that's still building. Let's get into it. When Caitlin Clark showed up wearing those black and yellow Kobe signature shoes, the reaction was immediate. Fans who follow sneaker culture recognized what they were looking at right away. These weren't some generic team-issued shoes with a little custom paint job. These were a genuine Kobe PE, a player exclusive, which in the sneaker world carries serious weight. Only a select group of athletes ever received that kind of treatment from Nike, and the fact that Clark was now among them said something loud and clear about where the brand sees her sitting in the larger basketball conversation. The colorway itself was no accident, black and yellow, with a gold swoosh running clean against the dark base. Half Iowa, half Indiana Fever, two identities that Clark has carried simultaneously since she went #1 in the 2024 WNBA draft. She talked about the shoes openly, the way she talks about everything, with that comfortable confidence that her fans have come to recognize. She said it herself, she didn't design them, she just saw them, fell in love immediately, and told Nike to hand them over. "I just said, yes, I love them, please give them to me," she laughed. And honestly, that reaction made the shoes feel even more real, because it wasn't a polished marketing moment, it was just genuine excitement. Now, for sneaker fans, the comparison that came up immediately was the Bruce Lee Kobe. The black and yellow color blocking drew that connection right away, and even Clark acknowledged it. But she also made it clear these were their own thing. Similar energy, different execution. The Bruce Lee Kobes carry a specific kind of legendary status in sneaker history, and while these don't directly compete with that legacy, they don't need to. What they do is establish something new, the beginning of a Caitlin Clark chapter within the Nike basketball universe, and that chapter is just getting started. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Clark teased that another colorway is coming, one that she described as even more fever. She told fans to wait for it, almost casually, like she was holding back a smile. And if the first pair already had people going crazy, the idea of a second shoe leaning even harder into the Indiana Fever identity has the fan base counting down. Because with Clark, there's always another layer, always something else coming. The player-exclusive shoes were just the warm-up act. The real headline is the Caitlin 1, her official first-ever signature basketball shoe, and it is coming. October 1st, 2026, the racer blue colorway drops first, and the anticipation building around that release is the kind that brands spend decades trying to manufacture and usually can't. Clark didn't need a decade. She needed one college career and one rookie WNBA season. The shoe exists because of a deal that made history before a single pair was ever produced. 8 years, $28 million, a partnership between Nike and Caitlin Clark that stands as the richest sponsorship contract ever signed by a women's basketball player. Read that again, the richest ever. Not the richest this year, not the richest in recent memory, the richest in the entire history of women's basketball. That number tells you everything you need to know about how Nike views her value, and more importantly, how they view her staying power.
What makes this deal feel even more significant is the history behind it.
Clark didn't arrive at Nike as a stranger. This is a brand she grew up wearing. She talked about it during her rookie season with a kind of sincerity that doesn't come from a PR briefing. She mentioned that Nike was with her through college, that it was always the brand she wore as a kid. Being able to be with them professionally felt like a dream made real. That kind of authentic connection between athlete and brand is something money can't manufacture, and Nike knows it. They've seen what happens when the chemistry is real, and with Clark, it clearly is. Now, there's been plenty of speculation in sneaker circles about what the Caitlin 1 will actually look like. Some people have floated the idea that Nike might take the GT Cut 4 silhouette, a shoe that already has strong performance credentials in the basketball market, and essentially rebrand it as the foundation for the Caitlin line. It's not a confirmed report, just the kind of conversation that happens when sneaker enthusiasts and basketball fans start connecting dots. But the logic isn't crazy. If Nike could get a Clark signature shoe on shelves by the holiday season, the sales numbers would be staggering. There's even speculation they might bring the price point down slightly from their standard basketball releases to make the shoe more accessible. And if they do, expect those shelves to empty out faster than anything they've put out in years. One question that keeps coming up is whether Paige Bueckers will debut a signature shoe before Clark. Right now, there is no confirmed report that happens. Bueckers is undeniably one of the most exciting young players in the league, and her star is absolutely rising. But in terms of the signature shoe race, Clark is ahead, and October 1st has a date circled around it that belongs to her. Here's something that the sneaker community picked up on, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The Sabrina 2.0, Sabrina Ionescu's signature shoe with Nike, draws a lot of comparisons to the Kobe 5 silhouette. People have pointed it out directly, and the resemblance is hard to argue against. Different materials, updated details, but the DNA of the Kobe 5 runs through it in a way that's pretty obvious once you know what you're looking at. Now here's where it gets spicy. When you look at the Kobe PE shoes that Clark received, those black and yellow player exclusives, and you put them next to what Ionescu was wearing, some fans started asking a pointed question. Could Nike have set Clark up with the Sabrina line instead, or something very close to it, given how connected she already is to the Kobe world? In retrospect, it's the kind of what-if that makes for great discussion. Clark is a Kobe devotee. The Kobe brand lives in the Nike family. The overlap was always there. But here's the thing, and this matters. Clark having her own signature line is actually a bigger deal than being plugged into an existing one. The Caitlin 1 isn't borrowing from anyone else's identity, it's building its own. And the PE shoes she received, the ones that felt like a Kobe cousin with a Clark personality, showed that the connection to that legacy is being honored without Clark being defined by it. She gets to be her own chapter. That's rarer than people realize, and it's exactly what she deserves. The shoes are part of a much wider story about what Caitlin Clark's presence means for the entire ecosystem around women's basketball, and nothing illustrates that better than the jersey situation. Her Indiana Fever jersey, available through Fanatics, the Michael Rubin-led sports merchandise giant, sold out completely, every size, gone. There were rumors circulating, not fully confirmed, that Clark's jersey actually outsold Dallas Cowboys jerseys at one point. The Dallas Cowboys, one of the most commercially powerful franchises in all of professional sports, with a fan base that spans the entire country and a global brand that's been built over decades. If that comparison holds up under full scrutiny, it represents one of the most remarkable merchandise stories in recent sports history. Even if the numbers aren't perfectly apples to apples, and it's fair to note that it hasn't been entirely confirmed, the fact that the conversation is even happening around a women's NBA player says everything about the territory Clark is operating in right now. And then there's the human side of it, the side that no business number can fully capture. A 15-year-old named Micaiah McCann from the Albany, New York area attended both Iowa games during the Elite Eight. On Saturday, she figured there was no chance. Too many people, too much chaos, no way she was getting close enough to make anything happen. But Monday was different. Monday, she made a decision. She was getting that autograph. She told everyone around her before the game even started. She got down to the court afterward, realized her Nike Blazers were hard to unlace quickly, improvised, got the shoe off anyway, and held it there for 40 minutes. 40 minutes. And Caitlin Clark signed it. That story went viral for a reason. It captures something that statistics don't. The emotional gravity that Clark has with her fans, especially young girls, is not something that can be engineered by a marketing team. It's the real thing. And it shows up in moments like that one. A teenager standing at a court, shoe in hand, willing to wait as long as it takes because this particular athlete matters to her in a way that goes beyond basketball. Then there's the fan who drove 23 hours from Saskatchewan, Canada to see Clark play. 23 hours! Not a flight, a drive. When asked who they came to see, the answer was immediate, no hesitation. That kind of pull is something most professional sports franchises would pay anything to manufacture, and here it is, arriving organically around a player who's been in the league for barely more than a season. Vanessa Bryant has taken notice too. She wrote Clark a personal note about the All-Star Game, a gesture that carries enormous symbolic weight given what the Kobe legacy means to Nike and to basketball culture broadly. The fact that Vanessa is in Clark's corner, openly and personally, adds another dimension to the story. It connects Clark to a legacy that transcends the court, and it signals that the people who carry that legacy forward see something in her worth acknowledging. Now let's talk about the part of this story that made people genuinely uncomfortable. Because the shoes are exciting, the deals are historic, and the jersey sales are impressive, but there's been something happening around Caitlin Clark that deserves to be addressed directly, and Charles Barkley was the one who decided to address it at full volume without apology. Barkley's rant was simple in its message and explosive in its delivery. He pointed at the women in the WNBA and said something that cut straight to the point. You should be thanking this girl. She's the reason you're on private charters now. She's the reason more money is flowing into your league. She's the reason cameras are showing up, brands are calling, and the entire sports media world is paying attention to games that just a couple of years ago would have been lucky to get a footnote on a highlight reel. He used the word petty repeatedly and deliberately, and he wasn't wrong. Here's the reality of what's been happening. Caitlin has faced a level of physical aggression on the court that's drawn significant attention. Hard fouls, targeted plays, moments that analysts and fans alike have noticed and questioned. And off the court, there had been comments, subtle dismissals, and social media moments that made it clear not everyone in the league was celebrating what she was bringing to it. Barkley looked at all of that and called it out for exactly what it was. The Kennedy Carter moment became one of the flashpoints in this conversation. The reaction to it online was immediate and divided, but the underlying message from Barkley remained consistent. When someone is growing your platform, increasing your income, and changing the conditions of your professional life for the better, hostility in response to that is something worth examining honestly. It's petty, it's counterproductive, and it doesn't serve anyone. What makes Barkley's rant particularly interesting is that it wasn't just about Clark. It was about a broader dynamic in professional sports that nobody likes to talk about openly. When a new talent arrives and immediately shifts the commercial center of gravity, the people already inside the structure sometimes feel threatened rather than elevated. It's a human reaction, but it's also one that, when examined clearly, doesn't hold up. The money Clark is drawing to the WNBA doesn't come at the expense of other players. It creates more. The media attention isn't zero-sum. More eyes on the WNBA means more eyes on everyone in it. LeBron James has weighed in too, indirectly reinforcing the point that Clark gets extra attention from opponents specifically because of the pedestal she's been placed on. He acknowledged that going against her means teams bring something extra, more intensity, more focus, more edge. That's the price of being the most talked about player in your league. But there's a difference between competitive intensity born out of respect for someone's talent and the kind of energy that seems aimed at making a point rather than winning a basketball game. That distinction matters, and more people in the sports world are starting to make it out loud.
Here's where the story gets truly historic. Because beyond the shoes and the jerseys and the social media moments, there's a financial transformation happening inside the WNBA right now, and Caitlin Clark is at the center of it. The league just finalized an 11-year media rights deal valued at $2.2 billion, with the potential to climb to $3 billion as more rights packages get sold. Let that land for a second. $3 billion. And this deal is expected to be approximately 6 times more lucrative than the previous arrangement the WNBA had with its broadcast partners. 6 times! That's not incremental growth, that's a structural shift in how the sports media world values women's basketball. The names attached to this deal are significant. ESPN, NBC, and Amazon are all part of the broadcast picture now. That means more games on more platforms, better production quality, wider distribution, and the kind of prime-time exposure that changes how a sport is perceived culturally. When the NBA was building its brand in the 1980s, television was the vehicle that took it from a regional curiosity to a global phenomenon. The WNBA is now accessing that same kind of platform firepower, and the timing is not a coincidence. Clark's influence on viewership numbers has been documented and is impossible to dismiss. The 2023 NCAA championship game, in which she starred for Iowa, drew 9.9 million viewers. That number for a women's college basketball game was historic on its own, but it also demonstrated something to every network executive and media rights buyer paying attention. There is an audience for women's basketball when the right player is at the center of the story. The Wall Street Journal, not exactly a publication known for basketball hyperbole, called her the GOAT of TV ratings. That's not a compliment thrown around lightly in that publication. It's a data-driven assessment. During her senior year, the effect became undeniable. Arenas that had been operating at comfortable but unremarkable attendance levels suddenly couldn't handle the demand. Families showed up. Young girls showed up. People who had never watched a WNBA game in their lives started showing up because they wanted to see what this person was doing with a basketball that was making everyone talk. The idea that women's basketball has no fan base, a claim that used to circulate without much pushback, became impossible to say with a straight face. Now consider this number in that context. Caitlin Clark's rookie salary was approximately $77,000 per year. That's the figure the collective bargaining agreement produced for the #1 overall pick in the WNBA draft, $77,000. Meanwhile, economic analysts were estimating that her mere presence in the league could generate an additional $50 million per year in media rights value. The gap between what she was earning and what she was producing for the league's bottom line was not just significant, it was staggering. It was the kind of number that makes sports economists stop and recalculate. The new media rights deal changes the math going forward. Salaries are expected to rise substantially, with maximum contracts potentially reaching $500,000 as the league's revenue base expands. The salary cap is projected to double, which means teams will have more flexibility to build competitive rosters, retain their best players, and invest in the kind of organizational infrastructure that attracts talent at every level. None of that happens without the commercial foundation that's being built right now, and that foundation has Clark's fingerprints all over it. This is what the Caitlin Clark effect looks like when you zoom out from the individual moments and look at the structural picture. It's not just viral clips and jersey sales and sneaker drops. It's an 11-year, multi-billion-dollar commitment from the most powerful names in sports media. It's a league on the verge of a transformation that will define the next generation of women's professional basketball. And it's happening, at least in significant part, because one player from Ames, Iowa decided to shoot from places other people wouldn't dare. Nike is sitting on something genuinely rare right now, and the sports business world is watching to see how they handle it. The last time they had this kind of cultural alignment with an athlete in a moment was when Steph Curry was at his peak, when anything carrying his name vanished from store shelves almost before it could be stocked. The parallels are striking, the unassuming demeanor masking elite competitive fire, the shooting range that make crowds react viscerally, the crossover appeal that pulls in fans who wouldn't otherwise be watching. Clark even acknowledged the Curry comparison herself, and while she was gracious enough to say she'd be the female version of Steph, there's a genuine argument to be made that the comparison should eventually run in the other direction.
Nike's risk isn't in signing her. That decision was clearly correct. The risk is in the execution, getting the Caitlin 1 out on schedule at a price point that maximizes accessibility without sacrificing the premium feel that Clark's brand deserves in colorways that resonate with her identity. These are the details that determine whether this becomes the biggest women's sports sneaker story ever told or a missed opportunity that gets discussed in hindsight. Nike is already under financial pressure, which means they need this to work commercially. And the good news for them is that the demand side of the equation isn't the problem. Consumers are ready. The question is whether the supply and marketing execution matches the moment. The Paige Bucher's angle adds another dimension. She's the next name that will inevitably come up in the signature shoe conversation, and her talent absolutely warrants that discussion. But right now, Clark's shoe is the one with a release date, a confirmed colorway, and the machinery of Nike's full attention behind it. When October 1st arrives and the racer blue Caitlin 1 drops, the response is going to tell a very specific story about where women's basketball stands commercially in 2026. Beyond Nike, the broader brand landscape around Clark continues to expand. She's been described as one of the most marketable athletes in sports right now. Not in women's sports, not in basketball, but in sports full stop. The grocery cart comment, a fan noting online that every brand should be trying to partner with her based on what she buys at the supermarket, sounds like a joke, but actually captures something real. Her authenticity is part of what makes her commercially powerful. There's no separation between the person on the court and the person in the parking lot, and consumers can feel that. It's the difference between a brand deal and a genuine endorsement, and Clark consistently delivers the latter. The fan driving 23 hours from Canada wasn't buying into a brand strategy. Micaiah McCann wasn't standing there for 40 minutes with her shoe because a marketing campaign told her to care. These moments happen because something real is happening, and the business world, from Nike to the television networks to the WNBA itself, is working quickly to build structures around that real thing before the window of maximum opportunity narrows. Step back from the noise for a moment. The controversy, the sneaker drops, the TV deals, the petty narratives, the business negotiations, all of it, and look at the actual picture that's forming here. A single player has entered a professional league and within her first full season has helped that league secure a $3 billion media deal. Her jersey is sold out in every size. Her first signature shoe has a release date and a fan base that makes it one of the most anticipated basketball sneaker launches in years. A Kobe player exclusive sits in her locker, connecting her symbolically to one of the greatest legacies in basketball history. Vanessa Bryant has written her personal notes. Charles Barkley is defending her publicly. Fans are driving across international borders to watch her play. And a 15-year-old from upstate New York is getting her shoe signed at center court, the way kids once stood at the rope line for Jordan. The numbers are real. The cultural impact is real. And the resistance, because there is always resistance when someone this influential arrives this quickly, is real too. But resistance has never stopped what's actually happening here. It's just noise in the background of something much bigger. Caitlin Clark is not just the best player in the WNBA right now. She's not just the most marketable athlete in women's sports. She is, right now, one of the most significant figures in professional basketball, period. And the signature shoe with her name on it, the one dropping October 1st in racer blue, is going to be the first physical product in what is shaping up to be one of the most enduring athlete brand stories of this generation. The real question isn't whether she can maintain this level. It's whether the world around her, the league, the brands, the media, and yes, the players who share the court with her, can grow fast enough to match where she's already going. Because based on everything we've seen so far, Caitlin Clark isn't waiting for anyone to catch up. She already moved on to the next shot. If this video opened your eyes to how much is actually happening around Caitlin Clark right now, drop a comment below. What do you think the Caitlin 1 is going to do to the sneaker market when October hits? And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time, because this story is nowhere near finished.